News with Tom and Vanessa City.
Yes.
You had a question.
Yes.
A burning one.
Everything that I've heard here is lovely, but there's this small thing that always creeps up when we have these discussions called cost. And so far, we've been very student-centric. But this is where now the parents come in. Yes. And because you want to study this, you want to study this, everything is really good.
Yeah.
How expensive is it?
What cost are you asking about?
I think
Is it the cost of university abroad or cost
I've
of
asked
IUC?
that question generally for a very specific purpose. I want to be vague so that our guests
We don't
can
go to the Hague.
Yes. So that our guests can choose what they want to answer.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you, Siti, for that important question. I think the question would have been, how cheap is it? There's this saying that if you think education is expensive, try ignorance. Now, ordinarily, if you are to do this course in the UK, hypothetically, you need upwards of 18,000. If it's a cheap school, probably it's 16,000 pounds. Do the math, 16,000 pounds per year. For upkeep, you need 1,000 pounds a month. 1,000 pounds a month. Let's just talk of the,
So another
of the upkeep.
12,000.
That's 12,000 pounds for upkeep for the year.
Yes, 1,000 pounds alone is
So if you
around
do that math, you're talking
170.
30,000 pounds.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
far.
so even a Kenyan, an average Kenyan does not earn even half of 1,000 pounds. You see, doing it in country is significantly important because the parent saves up 60 to 70% of that cost. No flights, no visa, no accommodation. The tuition fee reduces by about 70%. We are talking of about 850 pounds. In terms of Kenya shilling, probably be talking about 1.2 million for the whole program for non-science. For sciences, we're talking about 1.35 million because science is a bit expensive.
Per year.
That's per year. Actually, the program classroom time takes 9 months. Okay? The full cycle, including university transition, takes a whole year. And what I need also to mention is that if you were to do, this program is also an equivalence of what we call A-level, AS and A-level, or ASA2. That A-level program in the international school system takes 2 years and leads you to Leeds or whichever university. The foundation programs takes 1 year, leads you to the same classroom. Okay,
So this is shorter.
it's shorter
Right.
and more cost effective. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I've heard something that you've said there, and correct me if I'm wrong. You're saying that even those who are at the O level
Yeah.
and they're considering A level,
Yes.
that this is an alternative,
This is an alternative.
And it's
even those who've done KCSE.
a more viable alternative.
Exactly.
Okay.
I said it has a guarantee. See, that's the word I liked. It's not just an option, it's a guaranteed.
Yeah.
E guarantee, money back guarantee.
Money hairudi.
Oh,
That is relative. Yeah. You see, even our KCSE students can hardly go unless you go to North America. If you go to the UK, Australia, New Zealand, you still have to do a foundation. So why spend and accommodation plus everything? We are talking of not medicine. Medicine would be 8 million, 10 million per year. An ordinary course would be like 5 million, including accommodation.
Okay.
So why spend 5 million when you can send 1 point something and keep the rest for your...
and get the same.
And you go
result.
to university for 3 years after this. Not
So, okay. So to establish that, essentially, and maybe just stop me if I'm wrong, is that you're doing in Kenya what you're going to have to go abroad, whether it is the UK, New Zealand, whatever, you're going to have to do it anyway,
Yeah.
right? So you're saying cut the time and cut the cost,
Yes.
do it here, and then you can go and transition, and then you do the university,
Yes.
for 3 years. Am I right?
Exactly. If you are taken aback or probably attracted by all these exotic facilities, or we have them here. So we've literally brought that classroom which you would have paid an arm and a leg for out there home. Yeah, so the student has a chance to prepare accordingly. You are in country, you are home with family, you know. By the time you're going there, you're mentally and psychologically or academically tuned for the world out there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to, does it pick up from any system? I ask this because, of course, at the high school level, there are not very many, but there are a number of systems that are being used. Of course, there's the KCSE, there's the Cambridge system, there's the one, the IB baccalaureate that's being used. So does it then pick up anybody coming off of those high school systems and then, you know, they're able to make the transition properly?
Actually, that's a good question. That's part of the reason why this program was established. The founders, which is a Russell Group of Schools, universities, initially it was very difficult for students to transition from various curricula into the UK system, for example. That's where I started, before they got partnerships globally. And so we have entry requirements for all the countries in the world. It's a multi-page document. So you only have to mention the country. We look at that. It shows what is required.
Okay.
So the standard one is, so you could transition from KCSE, you can transition from IB, you could transition from, their students, the pass rate for A-level is growing thinner and thinner. That's why this program is bound to be more popular, because it gives students a chance to succeed. You are not judged on the strength of a single set of exams. The assessments are progressive, and then you have the cumulative grade at the end. So you could pick from year 11 in the international system. You could pick from year 12. You could fail year 13, retrace your steps and succeed. You could transition from KCSE as well. Yeah.
Okay.
So.
And then I believe you had mentioned, Vanessa, but it is recognized around the world.
Exactly.
So so what do you get after that? You get a diploma, you get a certificate when you're done, and after it's a year, you said.
Yes.
So after the year, with this certificate that you have, you can then present this to another institution, and it's recognized that you've already done that. So you're basically getting ahead in terms of your education?
Yes, you are, exactly. As I mentioned earlier, it's a transnational program. So even students probably in Accra, Ghana, probably in Tanzania, Uganda, but we are the only station here in East Africa. So even students from Uganda would prefer to come to Kenya to do the international foundation year, as well as other countries. So it is transnational, recognized everywhere. And the other thing I would probably like to add on about the school fee, for a third of the fee that you would have paid in the UK, probably you can do the same program here. And then additionally, we also have scholarships for students who are brilliant. So if you would wish to apply for the scholarships, you can get some percentage of your school fee in the foundation year program. So that's something we have introduced recently. So in addition to the cost effectiveness, we give you an additional scholarship, which is brilliant, I would say. Yes.
What percentage of the fee is a scholarship?
That will depend.
Up to 100%?
Yes.
We just rolled out something. If I may add on that, we'll give between 15 and 40%, depending on performance. It's a merit-based scholarship. So if you have, let's say, A or A minus, depending on the system, we'll give you 40%. If you have anything B plus, B, we'll give you 30%. If you have B minus, we'll give 15%.
What does a scholarship mean? What does it entail? Is the cost going to be reduced on tuition? Is it going to be on board? What is it?
Okay, we have several costs, but of course the main cost is based on tuition. So it's 40% of the tuition fee. So if you give you 40%, for instance, it boils down to around 540,000 shillings. Yeah, that is significant.
That's a good one. So how does one apply for that?
We'll give our contacts, but all the same, all you do is you express your interest, you send us your papers or your certificates, we verify them, and then we write back to you. Recently, we also co-sponsored the Kenya High National Mathematics Contest, which attracted over 2,000 students nationally. So the winner was from Kenya High, followed by another one from Mangu, and another one from Alliance. And we gave them 100%, 75, and 50% scholarships. So because they're doing KCSE,
the Mangu guy got 75%.
The one from Mango got
Should have
75%.
been 100. Okay, so
You do know why he's asking.
No,
I
but
know,
he was
I
second
can
place. So
clear.
he was second place.
it's good enough. Before we forget, because we may actually forget, how, Vanessa, how does one get more information about IUPC website, in addition to coming to number 20, what, Kanjata, what?
3
Number
Kanjata.
three
3
James
Kanjata
Gishuru.
of James Gishuru.
Lavington,
So-
Nairobi.
Exactly. So I'll just start with where we're located again. So we're clear and you can access us very easily. On James Gishuru, you shall turn on your left when you're coming from Wayaki Way. Then on 3 Kanjata Road, actually it's between Loreto Msongari and Nairobi International School Kindergarten, smack in the middle, IUPC campus. How you can get information about us, our website, www.iupc.edu.com, and then for our social media pages, IUPC Edu. So IUPC EDU.
Okay.
Exactly.
You talked about accreditation and you said, yeah, you are accredited globally. And Ndu asked a question which you never answered. So after this 1 year, what am I getting? A diploma, certificate?
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Ndu seems to think that you look for a university one after getting the certificate. It's, the narrative is different. In our case, for example, students have just started their a new academic year. That is something we pride ourselves in, progression. The 5 progression routes and others, including Europe and the Middle East, because we have some UK universities with campuses in the Middle East.
Yeah.
We start the application process right away. The 5 documents that I talked about, we start gathering them week 1. So even before they do their final exams, because, for example, if you're applying to the UK for medicine, the deadline is October, some date in October. For all the rest of the courses, I think it's the 3rd week of January. So that's the global deadline. For you to attain an equal consideration in your application, you need to apply before the deadline. So before they finish the course, they already know where they're going, their provisional admissions. Yeah, so it's pretty much seamless. So you don't wait to graduate for you to know where you're going.
Okay, so what do you have at the end of it?
You have a certificate. We call it the IFY certificate, International Foundation Year Certificate.
Okay.
Which
And
is
if it's a
an
Canadian
equivalency
thing?
of A-level.
If it's the Ontario
If it's in Ontario, you call it the OSSD, Ontario Secondary School
diploma.
So
I
you
see.
can also use it to apply to any other university.
Okay. So the assumption also is that by the time you finish this year,
Yeah.
that you're gonna transition directly into university. What if you want to take a break?
Yeah,
Can you
that's
defer
true.
your admission? Can you defer the next, plan that you want to go with?
Yeah, we have students we have case studies of students who, for example, in the last 2 classes, say, I've had so much pressure with studies, let me take a year. So others take it on account of age, say, oh, I'm barely, because the age requirement is 17 to 22.
And the upper limit?
The upper limit is 22. So if you're 22, it's not for you. If you are 16, sweet 16,
So-
you still have a
So if
chance.
you're 23, sorry.
Sorry, but if you're
Go to
23, you could do the Ontario Secondary School diploma, because that one, if you're doing it blended or online, it has no age limit. You could do it any age. So
So you're saying because of age, some decide to defer.
if you're 16, just to answer Ndu's question, you could take a gap year. We have students taking gap year. So you have your admission.
What
yes.
is a gap year?
A gap year means you just take 1 year off study. And you don't sit back at home doing nothing. You could be doing community service. There are others who are
Internship.
upskilling. Like some of the students said, oh, out there probably I need to know how to drive. So I'm going to a driving school. I'm going to upskill my computer skills, that kind of thing.
Are there different enrollment dates for the different programs?
Yes, we have 2 enrollment dates. We have the main one being September intake, or let me say August, September. Right now, our enrollment is ongoing up to the end of the month. Then targeting students from the international curricula who do exams in October and November, as well as KCSE students. We have also a January intake. We start intake right away. We very soon will start enrolling for January. So you don't have to wait to do your KCSE exams.
Okay.
You could use your mock results. You could also have your teachers predicting your grades, you see. So, and we use that. We trust the teachers to do the right thing.
So Form 4 candidates can already
apply.
start applying
Now,
ahead
yes.
of January
Yes.
with their mock results, with their predictive grades and all.
Exactly.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Good ones. Now, City Ask.
Whenever one talks about studying abroad and university abroad, we've spoken as though when you talk of tuition money, when you talk about accommodation, that all those who would wish to partake of your services come from Nairobi. What if somebody applies and they do not have a place to be domiciled in Nairobi? What do you do with such a person?
Good question, City. We have had students from as far as Uganda, mostly, and other countries. We've partnered with accommodation providers. So in our case, we've partnered with Kwetu and Kijani. So where our campus is located, our preferred student accommodation or student residencies, we have Kwetu at Parklands. There's a new one along Riverside Drive, Chiromo. Then there's another one, Hurlingham. So our students reside there. So we have a signed MOU with them. So any students who wants to board, actually we have students from Nairobi who are boarding, just to start getting used to being independent. Because part of this program is to train you to be independent. Even the way our academic programs are structured. 50% is independent learning, 50% is supervised learning, where you have your term paper, we have breakout areas for students where they do their research outside classroom hours. Yeah. So,
Case studies now. First, how many students can you have at any one go at your campus?
we can, if the campus is full, we can have up to 150 students. Yeah. Yes, across the various streams.
Vanessa, you're the storyteller now. Tell us the stories.
So you mentioned case studies.
Yes.
We've had a couple of students going to top universities, especially from the first two cohorts, since the admission for the third cohort is still ongoing. So the first two cohorts, we had a specific student who was among the 70 students we had at the time, about 70 to 80, if I'm correct, from the M-Pesa Foundation. That was our first cohort, which was quite brilliant, and the performance was excellent. So these students, in as much as they weren't from well-off backgrounds, as you would imagine, got admission to IUPC and then progressed to universities abroad. One of them being Benson, who went to Leeds University. He's studying engineering, if I'm not wrong. So there's that one. And then there's generally every year we have about 90% progression rate. Obviously, there's some students who wish to have a gap year, other students who wish maybe I would just stay in Kenya, different reasons. But 90% guarantee our students progress to university. So that's the case study and, examples that I would give from IUPC.
Are there instances where someone applies and you don't admit them?
Okay, do I take that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So whoever
Yeah,
takes it.
There have been such instances because there's this misconception that foundation courses are for those who have failed. So that if you're an underachiever, go and do foundation. It's like a parent saying, oh, this child is lazy. Teacher, give him more homework, things like that. But the university partners have put a ceiling on entry requirements because your history will follow you wherever you go. You need to first attain a credit, or shall I say a C, in 5 subjects. And then we also look at English. What is your performance in English? But of course, English cannot deter you. There's also a placement test called Password, which we administer. If you pass it, Password. Yeah. So there are students who did not necessarily attain the 5 Cs. If probably you have only 1 C or 2 Cs, you may not get it. But we've had a case where a student got 3 Cs or 4 Cs, and maybe something that is not science-oriented or something. So we have a pipeline called NSC, non-standard entry. So I write to our partners. They look at it on a case-by-case basis. Then probably the other grade that is not a C is probably close to a C, say a D. Then that you're given a benefit of doubt and admitted in those conditions. Yeah. And the condition sometimes is you just made aware that you might not compete for some top-tier universities, but you'll get a chance nonetheless. When we talk of guaranteed access, any students who get 3 credits or 3 Cs in the core subjects, it's within your rights to get placement within the network of universities. Yeah, so that's what we mean.
So that's where the guarantee is.
That's where the
But you're saying throughout this 1 year, you're working hard to make sure that they are placed at universities.
Yeah. So is there also support that comes along with these other things? Because, I mean, you talked about the 5 documents that you're going to have at the beginning. There's also the question about then travel documents, visa requirements, and things like this. Scholarships for onward, you know, education if necessary. Is there support that comes along with that? Or, look,
yes,
you
we
do your
have.
certificate and you're done?
We have what we call a dedicated support on campus. And that's something that has, because you know, attaining whatever grade is as good as transition. So we have a student support team on campus, about 3 of us, monitoring all these documents, giving the students accommodation. Support comes by way of visa application, searching for universities, doing the application itself, choosing accommodation, and everything else. Then we also have a support team in the UK who work directly with parents as well as students. So that is what makes it successful.
Okay.
I wanted to ask on the guarantee, but you already answered
Yes.
on that guarantee. And so now let's just recap. Number 1, the website is www.iupc.edu.com. And then the physical address?
3 Kanjata Road.
3 Kanjata Road,
Yeah.
off James Gishuru.
Exactly.
Okay.
Carrington.
Higher. And then the social media pages?
IUPC EDU. IUPC Edu.
Okay.
Yes.
And you're saying that anybody who's thinking of, you know, you want to study abroad and you want to, of course, know how to then get a pathway into the universities abroad,
Yes.
talk to IUPC, you have a chance.
Go
Exactly.
to any of those 5 countries. Yeah, including Europe and the Middle East.
Very good.
Yes.
Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank
It's been a
you.
very interesting conversation.
Thank you so much for having us.
Tom Olang is the academic manager, while Vanessa Amolo is the student recruitment and marketing manager at the International University Pathways College, IUPC. We've been talking about that, about pathway programs for universities abroad. You're thinking of studying abroad, you need to talk to IUPC, and that's why we had invited them this morning. Keep it here for more conversations coming up in the next hour. Very good morning to you. It's 8 a.m.